I missed most of this debate and I was late for it because I was dealing with two families in Ballyfermot, both of whom received notice to quit their tenancy and both of whom are extraordinarily stressed out. And as it happens, both families each have a special needs child, and that is their main worry, is the stress and the uncertainty for their children and the sort of pressure that puts on the needs of those children and the families entirely. Now, as it happens, in both cases, the landlords issued notices without proper regulation and were forced to withdraw them. And this is just one small story in one small area of this country, and I'm sure every deputy, whether they'd like to acknowledge it or not, because some of them might be defending the government's housing strategy, might really believe their own words, which is that the only way to solve this housing crisis is through the market, and will therefore not necessarily admit to the fact that the threat of eviction, the insecurity that families face on a daily basis is a real one. As we speak now, people are going to bed in fear of their future for their children. It's easy for us, those of us who have a permanent home, who are fortunate enough not to face that uncertainty. But I think we need to acknowledge that this is a sort of a demon that hangs over many families on a daily basis. And what this bill does, and I'm very proud to be associated with, is that it is putting down a marker, another marker after Apollo House, another marker after you, Minister, were forced to bring in some form of rent control just before Christmas, that this country is changing and that we are not willing to put up with a continuation of the sort of crisis and legacy of recession, the legacy of austerity, the legacy of the consequences of the bank bailout on ordinary people's lives. And whether this bill passes or not, you will have to recognise that there is a new force in this country, a new movement, a new awareness and a new determination that the priorities of this government and indeed of previous governments, both Fianna Fáil, Labour and Fine Gael, the priority of the establishment of this country is now going to be challenged and will continue to be challenged. So we cannot take it for granted that the idea that the market is going to resolve the crisis is the correct idea. It certainly will not. It is worsening the crisis. When you think about the supply of housing that is needed in this country and you look at what is happening in the local authorities, it is absolutely dismal. Even right down to the opening up of the voids, which I know you boast about constantly is now turning around much quicker, and that these houses aren't lying as empty or as long as they should do. A day is too long, a week is too long. And there are many, many issues of the housing crisis that has to be challenged, but the question of the ability of landlords to issue notices to quit and to be able to evict is a very, very fundamental and an urgent one. That's why I think this bill is to be welcomed, and I think that we should get out of our heads in this country once and for all that the rights of private property are sacrosanct over the rights of families to a decent, comfortable, secure life. There is such a thing as the common good. The Constitution states that the common good can override the rights to private property, and all of the details in this bill attempts to point in that direction, and therefore I'm very happy to be associated with it and to welcome it, despite what the government may say about the need not to interfere with private property. There is a need, and there is a need to move away from the ideological commitment to the market as being the solution. The market is the problem, it is not the solution.
Deputy Barry.